Today, we are taking a look at Crispin Glover at the request of a viewer, and we would like to thank you very much for suggesting this one because this was a great find, and I don't think we would have found him on our own. So, thank you to
Yes,
the person.
you'll be
Thank you.
revered for all time.
Yes. Thank you to the person who suggested him, and we will credit you in the description box below. So, who are we typing? Crispin Hellion Glover. And that is actually his middle name, Hellion. And I looked into it a bit. It's something about a German, part of his German heritage. And I think his father didn't like the German version or something. I don't know, but you can read about it. But he's an American actor, filmmaker, author, and musician, and he's known for portraying eccentric characters on screen. So,
Okay,
yeah.
3, 2, 1, go.
McFly, being that like after that, it would have seemed to me to be very hard to jump into the things you're interested in now.
Back to the Future, it was actually very informative to me in some of the things that I'm talking about in terms of propaganda. I know it's a very beloved film, but I was only in the first film. There was
Right, yeah.
they had taken the molds of my face from the old age makeup from the original film and put another actor into prosthetics that were made from my face, and then interspliced a very small amount of footage of me from the original film in order to fool audiences into believing that I was in the movie. Because of my lawsuit, there are rules in the Screen Actors Guild that make it so producers can never do something like that again. I'm proud of the lawsuit, but
Oh, wow.
the reason I bring it up is because the reason that I didn't end up being in the film, it's more complex than this, but I was asking questions that the producer's director didn't like. I was a serious actor as well, so when I started actually analyzing the screenplay, once we were involved in the project, I had questions about things. And there was a different end. I won't go into so many details about it, but I had questions about it, and it did get changed. And I think there are other people that had questions because there are things in it that could, particularly in this day, be thought of as, well, offensive. And those changes happened. It had to do with money and what people were doing, the characters were doing with money. But I didn't stop with it. I said to Robert Zemeckis, I thought it was not a good idea for our characters to have a monetary reward, because it basically makes the moral of the film be that money equals happiness. And by having there were various things that were doing it, but by having the son character cheer by having a truck in the garage, what I was arguing for was that that the characters should be in love, and that the love should be the reward. And Zemeckis got really mad at me when I said this. And
Did you
yell at you?
he yelled. Yeah, he was
Wow.
he didn't like it.
It's kind of
Seems to be a thing with the INTPs, doesn't it? That they annoy people by asking questions.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yes, I think I relate as well, because
I was going to ask you that.
INTJs are like this. But it's
Mhm.
probably less of a problem, though, really. Because I think we're probably a bit more quiet in it.
Mhm.
Obviously, something, I guess the INTP's lack of awareness is in this regard.
Yes.
And it's less so with my type.
Mhm. Which is INTJ, in case anyone doesn't know. Mhm. Yeah, I wanted to ask you something because well, we've watched several interviews with Crispin Glover, and he's obviously told this story many times about what happened to him with this Back to the Future movie. I've noticed that I I notice it because I do the same thing. If I've have to share a story over and over, I find myself almost literally repeating it word for word. Like I almost made a script in my mind and then I keep following it. Would TE do that? I don't think it would.
follow a script.
Yeah, like if you watch Crispin Glover, and we've typed other FE or TIFE users.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yes, and
Yes. Like you have like a
yeah,
same sentences that you just
yes,
hash out all the time.
yes. He says the same thing over and
No,
over and over again.
no,
I didn't think so.
this isn't
And
what TV
it's not
does.
just right. That's not INTP
I
necessarily.
make up
This
my
is TI.
sentences fresh every morning.
You're a chef, a sentence chef.
Freshly baked.
Right, right, right. No, I don't do that. In fact, when I do, I'm like all pleased with myself. I think, wow, that was a fresh sentence. I should write this down or something. Because I
Huh.
think, yes. And we've talked about this with other TI people that we've typed. We said that you can tell they've prepared ahead of time, but not
Right.
only prepare, it's almost like verbatim. Like if you go back and listen to other interviews, tells the same story, almost word for word the same. And it's something I've noticed for TI. So anyway, should we keep watching? What time are you at? Because I didn't hear you say stop because I had my volume up too loud.
At 2:41.
Okay, good, because I was way ahead. All right, say 3, 2, 1, go, and we'll go.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Odd
Wow.
discussing a film that old at this point, but didn't you see at the end the characters, they were more in love? I think especially your character and the wife, they did seem to be.
But my argument is that part was good. I was all
Right.
for it, but I think it pollutes it.
Do you think the money could have been a peripheral effect of the happiness that they had? That they
I think it's a bad
changed?
message.
Really?
I do. I think
Okay.
because that's propaganda. That says to people, go out and borrow money for banks. This is a big part of why the film was successful, because the corporations knew that it had that moral element in it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I would
Right.
also argue, I mean, that's only because they knew that was in there, therefore they
This is
can
so funny.
feel comfortable in funding it
Stop.
and putting a lot of
Okay.
money into.
This guy's so much like I am.
Yes.
Because, like me and my family, I'm always like ranting on about stuff. And they hate me for it. And you can just imagine this guy on, in an industry like the film industry, and just everything. It's like, well, that doesn't send a good message, does it? Like, criticizing, picking
Yes.
points,
Yes.
illogical problems,
Mm-hmm.
logical problems with everything that is creative people doing.
Yes, I know. Uh-huh.
Just,
I
and it's
know.
just, and just, INTP is FE, and they're gonna be just out there saying it,
Yes.
and
Well,
there's no restraint.
he's another very interesting example. So I think he's a bit different than Rowan Atkinson. And I don't know, again, I haven't looked into Rowan Atkinson's growing up years. But again, this is how we talk about how type manifests and how that type isn't who you are. I mean, his personality is definitely not the same as Rowan Atkinson. I mean, you can see the
Yeah.
type that they share, but it's very different. So this Crispin Glover was an only child, and he went to a private school where I think he had 14 people in his class. He led a very sheltered life as a child, and he had no one really, it seems like, helping him develop that awareness as a person.
Yes.
And so if you go back and we watch, there's a Johnny Carson interview with him when he's 22 years old, and oh my. Like
Yes.
everyone has to watch that, because you can see.
Yeah, and you see the childlikeness
Yes.
of him.
And the cluelessness. I mean, he has no idea.
How weird he is.
Yes, he has no idea. I mean, it's so sweet. Like he really is. He's almost like a 22-year-old child. And here, okay, he's an older man here, but he's still very similar. Like I've watched him in other interviews as a grown man, And he goes on and on and on. And we saw the interviewer the other day just totally check out. He's looking at his iPad. He's looking at the questions. I mean, you could tell he was done, but Crispin
Yes.
Glover had no idea that the interviewer was done. He did not know. He just kept going and going and going. And you could see him. He's lost in his little TI there. He is just in his head. He is just exploring. He shares in one interview how he was talking about the sets. His father was an actor and he grew up on the Hollywood sets. And he was explaining in great detail, SI, right, how these sets looked. And you could tell he was lost. He was visualizing it. And I think with INTP, they are there. When they go into their head and they explain something visually, they are actually there. And if you talk to them, if you explain something to them, like if you want to tell an INTP about an experience you had when I was here at this park and it looked like this, they are playing it in their minds as a movie. They can see it. Their visual, spatial, whatever is incredible. And so you can go back and watch other interviews of him, but it's just very interesting. You want to keep watching a little bit?
Let's go again. Okay, go.
Distributing it. It caused me to not be in the sequels on some level. I'm sure it's complicated, but and then there was a lawsuit. You know, it was very specifically not a legal thing. I mean, you can just say it's not a nice thing, but it was not a legal thing to do either. So this informed me that if you question propaganda, it has serious consequences. My experience in the business has been good. That would be the one real exception. That wasn't good. That was not a pleasant thing to have happen because people still believe that was me. And the reason I had the lawsuit, it was the real reason, the primary reason that I had it was I just wanted people to know that I wasn't in that. That wasn't me
you,
because
right.
I didn't. If I had played that part, I would have played it differently.
Right.
I didn't like the way that guy played it, and people think that's me.
I didn't either.
Well, I mean, you know, I mean, it still gets to me that there's that confusion, and what way is there to let it be known other than do that? So even still, that's why whenever the issue, anything about that's brought up, now I do talk about it. I'm talking about it more also because there's one fellow, he might have even been on your show, I'm not sure, Bob Gale.
Yeah, Bob Gale was on.
Yeah, I think I listened to it. And on your show, he lied. He lied about some. Yeah, and you guys automatically believed what he said.
Oh, man, reconcile it, please.
Well, what he said was that I had... let me be specific and let me think. He said that I had asked for the same amount of money that Michael J. Fox was getting in the film. It's a total fabrication. The reason that he's doing this is because he wants to throw the track off of the conversation of that what they had done was illegal. So he's trying to justify as to why it was good for them to do this illegal thing. And so then people automatically believe. I remember what he said specifically was that then I had called back after the thing was in production, saying, "Oh, I want to do it" or something.
Oh, right.
And somebody corroborated with "oops" or something like that. It was like, I didn't do that. I actually did work on a different film at the time, a John Borman film. But it's what happened in the negotiation was I actually wanted to be in the film, but the offer
but you asked too many questions.
was less than half of what Leah Thompson and Tom Wilson, who had similar sized roles.
Sure, yeah.
And it wasn't fair.
Well, you set the record straight today. I'm glad.
And
we apologize for that.
He's very, obviously, I mean, he's very emotional here because he was misrepresented, and that upsets him greatly to be misunderstood in such a way, misrepresented. You can tell he's very passionate about this.
I mean, interestingly enough, if you Google his name, it does come up with Back to the Future too.
Ah,
still,
wow, still, yeah.
So I mean, it is annoying. Like, it's someone's. He's not said it here, but someone's done a bad job, and they're saying it's him.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. And if that doesn't
kind about it, but he would have done a better job realistically.
Oh no, he said it in another interview. He said that actor did a horrible job. He flat
Oh,
out
did
said
he?
it. Oh yes, he did. He didn't
Oh,
mince words.
I
No, he said it.
didn't say
He
it
says
here.
no, but he said it in another one. He said, I don't care. He goes, I'm just gonna say, he did an awful portrayal of it or whatever. But yeah, he said it.
Huh.
Mhm. Yeah. He does not, he is very angry that he has been misrepresented in such a way. Yeah. So anyway, this was a brilliant suggestion. So
Yes.
thank you to the person who suggested it because, again, I don't think I would have even thought of this guy. There's so many people out there. It's just, so yeah. So if anyone out there has any potential INTPs, please let us know because they're needles in a haystack out there in this public sphere. They're hard to find. I mean, we do have several. We have several males. Females are very hard to find. So
Yes. You be written into the Hall of Fame on the About
Type book.
page.
Right. Okay. Thanks for watching and have a great day.